he didn't deserve that ending. You know, he's really young. But I know that we will carry the torch. I will never allow the memory of Charlie to be forgotten, obviously, because there is no Candace without Charlie. You know, we came up in politics together, and so I don't know what else to say, guys, other than I'm in a lot of pain right now. And I love you, Charlie, and, you know, I'll see you when I'll see you. I love you very much.
Welcome back to another episode of the Can We Talk About It podcast. Today, we are talking about quite a few things. The pain in Candace's voice still hasn't left. The pain in Erika's voice, however, is gone. It seems as though she is ready to move on. And one of the things that I keep hearing and seeing on X is that, you know, Candace was his friend, but Erika was his wife. And it is becoming so obvious to me that Candace knew Charlie better than Erika did. And it makes sense. You know, I think we want to live in a world where, you know, your wife is the person that knows you better than anyone else. We have this fairy tale dream that your wife knows you better than anyone else. And I think that would have been the case had Charlie and Candace only spent a couple of years together. But they spent many, many years together building an organization. And when I look back on the interviews of those two together, I see a deep, true friendship. They were truly of the same brain, as we say, and they knew each other in ways that no, Erika Kirk does not. And I think she hates that about it, to be honest. I think she hates it. So when Candace wrote her open letter to Erika, and she started with just absolute pain in her voice, I was very moved by that. I understand what it's like to have someone like who's like a sibling to you, and you know their ins and out, and you know what they would do and what they wouldn't do, and how they would respond to things and how they wouldn't. And when you watch people lie about that person on public television, it's excruciating. It's painful. So what we're going to do today is we are going to go through Candace Owens' letter to Erika Kirk, and we are going to talk about why TPUSA must respond. They have to respond. The things that Candace Owens purported in her letter would otherwise be defamation. They would otherwise be cause for a lawsuit. So TPUSA must respond. The question is, how are they going to do it? Before we get into that part of the episode, though, I want to make a note of something. Have you guys noticed that TPUSA has not made a single comment on the Epstein files? Charlie Kirk, one of the things that he did while he was on his college tours was he spoke a lot about illegal immigration and how illegal immigration was the open door for child trafficking. At various points in his life, while he was still alive, the last 6 months of his life, he spoke about the Epstein files and shared what he thought should happen in regards to those. Now, at one point he said, "Oh, I trust my friends in the government." But I do not believe that Charlie would have been silent on the Epstein files. I want you guys to take a listen to this recording of Charlie.
I think the DOJ should immediately move to unseal all the Epstein documents in the Southern District of New York.
Yeah. Everything. Everything except child sexual assault material.
I think every file should be released to the public the same way as the JFK files. Let the American people decide.
So that is what Charlie had to say about the Epstein files. And I find it to be strange, weird, interesting that neither Andrew Colvett nor Erika Kirk nor Blake Neff has outright condemned the information in the Epstein files. It is very obvious who Jeffrey Epstein was working for, but I think I know why. I think I know why, and this is so speculatory, and you're just making things up and XYZ. No, what I'm doing is I'm connecting the dots. I'm watching how this organization was run before, and I'm watching how it's run now. There is a very obvious reason as to why they are not saying anything, and here's why. I'm going to show you this video from Ben Shapiro. I'd like to remind you that Charlie Kirk did not like Ben Shapiro, yet, still, nonetheless, nevertheless, Charlie Kirk's grieving widow put Ben Shapiro as the first speaker at AmFest. I would be foolish not to think that the same people who are running the Daily Wire are now running TPUSA. Let's take a listen to Ben Shapiro, Mr. Morality, Mr. Conservative, Mr. Republican, Mr. Families, wives and children, defending Epstein.
So there are lots of claims that are like this in these files, and trying to actually run down the source of the claims is really important, because one of the things that happens in internet land is people will take unverified, salacious allegations that have not been run down by the FBI. They will then run those through the internet machine, and suddenly this becomes likely probable truth. Well, you actually have to run down each specific allegation in the 3.5 million pages of data before you run with the "it's definitely true," or "it's verified," or "this is the reason why policy X, Y, or Z happened." And there's just a call for evidence. And if the evidence shows what people want it to show, and I really believe that. I think there are a lot of people who want this evidence to show that, in fact, the Jeffrey Epstein pedophilic sex ring has been running all of global politics.
It has been, Benjamin. Little Benny. It has been. It is obvious. You don't think it's enough that Jeffrey Epstein is communicating with several top members of Congress, of governments, and inviting them to pizza parties, Benjamin, little Benny? You don't think that that is evidence enough that Jeffrey Epstein is running a blackmail ring, little Benny? You don't think it's evidence enough that he is writing checks to top members of government and Congress and leaders all over the world and inviting them to his island, little Benny? Mr. Conservative, Mr. Republican, Mr. Family? You don't think that that's evidence? You don't believe that if it walks like a duck or talks like a duck, it's a duck? Benjamin thinks that the American people are stupid. We know when someone is mentioned in the Epstein files versus when someone is implicated in the Epstein files versus when someone has been caught communicating in a way that is indicative of their criminal behavior. For example, Tim Tebow is mentioned in the Epstein files, but he's mentioned in a news article. We're not stupid enough to believe that that means that Tim Tebow is part of the Epstein ring. But you see, Benjamin, I was going to call him BB, Benny Shapiro doesn't want anybody thinking any further about the Epstein files for two reasons. Number one, midterms. And number two, his priority is that small country for whom it is very obvious that Jeffrey Epstein is working for. And so when I saw this, I said, you know what? Once I saw Ben Shapiro on stage at AmFest, I said, let's watch how many parallels there are between TPUSA and Ben Shapiro. Let's watch the parallels together. You see, the reason why Ben Shapiro did not like Charlie Kirk is because they disagreed on quite a few things. And if you start to notice that Andrew Colvett and Mrs. Erika Kirk and Blake Neff and Mikey McCoy, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious Mikey McCoy start to sound like Ben Shapiro, they're not walking out Charlie's legacy. They're walking out the same legacy that got Ben Shapiro paid, and everyone else. Let's continue.
For years, because that is a comforting thought for a lot of people about the nature of how politics works. That actually there is a coterie of people who are very sophisticated, who are running everything in American public life. And those people are being linked by pedophilic sex orgies and all this kind of stuff. There's a large swath of people for whom this idea is appealing. The evidence is not there. If the evidence presents itself, we will be happy to cover it.
Oh, Ben, we know you have lost all of your integrity. You have lost all morality. You have taken the check. You have taken the money. You've been taking the money for years. So TPUSA has been silent on the Ben Shapiro, on the Epstein files, and I believe it's because they're not allowed to speak on it. I believe it's because of exactly what Candace Owens says in her letter. Somebody accepted the money that Charlie turned down, and Candace asks the very pertinent question: at what cost? And in this letter, Candace shares that she was betrayed by Charlie early on in their dealings with TPUSA, and she shares because Candace is older than Charlie, and when you've been around the way a little bit, you can tell when people are shady. And Candace has very good character evaluation. And she told Charlie, these people are going to cause you to do things you don't want to do. You're going to sell your soul. And so when she asked at what cost, she was telling us at what cost this money came. So let's listen to Candace Owens' open letter to Erika Kir. This was extremely heartbreaking for me to listen to. It just, like, as I said at the top of this episode, the pain in her voice has not left. She even mentions at one point that she was losing hope. Like, she was like, am I crazy? This is like, I know something's off, but I can't prove it. And I have to say, you guys, for a moment there, I was like, she's getting candy girl, you getting a little off, girl. You getting a little crazy. I don't know if I believe all this stuff. But they keep telling us not to believe our eyes. They keep telling us that the way that Erika is acting is normal. They keep telling us to turn away and that it's okay to be laughing about emojis the day after your husband, 5 days after your husband dies. They keep telling us it's okay. And every ounce of our being is saying there's something wrong. There's something wrong. Okay, so let's go ahead and listen to this video together. And we're going to talk about the implications of this and why. I want to go specifically through what TPUSA must respond to. They have no choice. They must respond. Okay, you guys, is it just me? Oh, you guys can't hear that. Hold on one second. Let me restart that over. You guys, is it just me? Or does she look like she's listening in her other ear? Hold on, let me see.
No hesitation in understanding of what happened to my husband that day. I went there to always be full transparency, because what I don't want to have happen is for there not to be. And then I am relying then on social media and other news outlets to explain the narrative rather than saying, hey, this is what happened. This is what here's all of the.
You see when she closed her eyes right there, that to me is like, I'm trying to listen. I'm trying to hear. I'm trying to see it. To me, it looks like Candace, I think will say this. Candace says she forgot her lines or whatever. But to me, when I saw this, it was like, this is not something that you should have such difficulty saying. This doesn't make sense. Like, just say, listen, I don't want to hear a bunch of random stories. I want to hear the truth about what happened to my husband. It's really not that difficult. But notice how she's got one side of her face covered, with her ear covered. I think she's listening, and someone's feeding her lines. Let's go back just a little bit.
And then I am relying then on social media and other news outlets to explain the narrative rather than saying, hey, this is what happened. This is what here's all of the, it's just as hard, all of the facts on the table for you guys to see. And you guys can see on full display what happened to my husband. And there is no ifs, ands, or buts or confusion as to who did it and why.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it just by thinking about it. Meet Base 40.
I don't believe her at all. That wasn't convincing. I don't know what was hard about getting that sentence out. That seems remarkably rehearsed. It almost just seems like she forgot a line. Nothing in her eyes there makes you believe it. She's telling the truth. But beyond the eyes, just the actions, right? You can judge people by their actions. Erika, if she truly wanted more transparency, she could provide it because you don't need it in a courtroom.
Well, yes, and that's precisely it. Like she's thinking about every single sentence. The reason why people find Erika so off-putting right now is because we have now seen the real Erika Kirk. We have now seen the Erika Kirk who is, through all of the videos that we've seen, all of her audition tapes, we've seen her on other podcasts prior to her marriage to Charlie. And even in her marriage to Charlie on the Charlie Kirk show, we've seen this sort of fluid, less sort of rigid personality, and we can tell when someone's being authentic and she simply is not authentic, right? What we're seeing is a shell of what we saw on full display Erika in her audition tapes. So we are looking at Erika and going, girl, this doesn't even sound like you. You sound like you're lying, because you guys know, when you know somebody, you guys know, everybody knows this. When you know somebody and you know them for a while, you know their cadence, you know how they start to say things, you know how they naturally sort of like drag out words when they're looking for things to say. You know this, right? And because, see, we didn't have a real reference point of Erika initially, right? So when that funeral, that memorial came out, we didn't have a reference point for Erika. Most of us didn't. I'm telling you right now, I didn't care one bit about that lady. I didn't care about who Charlie was married to. I was not interested, didn't care. So I didn't have a reference point for her. So I just thought, oh, this is who she is. She's very measured. She's slow to speak, blah, blah, blah. And then all these, old podcasts were coming out, and these interviews are coming out, and all these videos are coming out, and her reality TV show is coming out. And I'm going, oh, that's who you are. That's who you are when you're relaxed and you're not worrying about making sure you get all your lies straight. That's who you are. And you see, here's what Candace is not saying. Candace is not telling you guys that that's exactly what she believes too. You see, because Candace knew Erika prior to all of this, right? She knew Erika when Charlie met her. So Candace is not just going off of like what's happening now. Candace is also referencing what she knows about Erika Kirk. Candace is also referencing what she knows about how Erika Kirk conducts herself when she's telling the truth. And so she's getting a double layer of this. So all these people who are like, what do you know, Candace? You don't know anything. It's like, no, Candace Owens actually knew Erika before. So she knows when Erika's telling the truth and when Erika's lying. She knows, because if you spend enough time around somebody, you know how they behave when they're relaxed.
Actually do not need to turn to the courts to have the public understand what happened on that day, because before the courts even got involved, the first people that had access to exactly what happened in 4K, as Tyler Boyer said, was Turning Point USA. They seized the cameras. They could have said, here, I'm also going to have some private investigators take a look at everything and tell them what they think. I was one of the people that called and personally requested to view the tapes. I said, we don't have to release them. I just want to see the tapes. And they were immediately cagey. They've been cagey about information. They've been changing information for saying, oh, I didn't realize that we lied about this or we lied about that. So making this public plea to the courts, I don't know. I think that it stands in stark contrast to the actions that are available to Erika Kirk as the CEO and chairman of this massive organization. But exactly how massive?
Okay, I want to know what you guys think. There's a few of you guys watching. Can you guys answer this this question in the chat? So Candace Owens just said something that I've been thinking about for a while, and she said, You guys have the video, you have the tape. And Erika Kir has said previously that she doesn't want to watch the video. I'm wondering, because I feel like if it were me and my husband was murdered, I probably would be watching every single cell phone video from every single angle. And she's like, why would I ever want a video of, like, why would I ever want that image of my husband? Girl, you already saw him in the surgery room. You already seen him at his worst. Like, why wouldn't you want to look at every single camera angle? Because that's what I would do. I would go and I would say, I want to know, okay, you have this camera, you have this angle, you have these drones, you have that. Okay. I want to track the bullet for me. So I find it strange that she was able to look at him in surgery. And now I do believe the doctor cleaned him up, but he was at his worst. He was at his worst. He was murdered, and she saw him already. And so why not say, okay, maybe I don't want to see the exact, like, show me the footage of the roof. Show me the footage of everything except him. Because I do firmly believe that if she actually watched all of that footage, she couldn't say what she's saying now. Erika Kir is getting plausible deniability. So if anything comes out that proves that that Tyler Robinson did not in fact kill Charlie Kirk or did not act alone, there were other people there, Erika Kir has plausible deniability. She can say, I never saw the tapes. I was simply listening to what the FBI says. Someone said something, I can't remember if it was on one of my videos or on X, but they said, I don't think Erika Kir pulled the trigger, proverbially either. But Erika Kir said yes when Charlie said no. And that's the difference. Let's continue.
Anyway, I wanted to write this open letter to Erika because I know that Turning Point USA watches every episode of what I say back to her, and they give her notation. So I would appreciate it if the elves at Turning Point USA just let her see this in its entirety. Here we go. Because more information has become available to me. I am feeling, well,
not the elves at Turning Point. That is Candace. Candace is a fool for that. She's like, the elves at Turning Point. Girl, stop. But also the worker bees. Yes, the worker bees at TPUSA, as we found out from the ex-employee, they are a bunch of worker bees, and the queen is off at Oregon Games and traveling the world in her private jet. But let's continue.
I'm feeling some type of way. Here we go. Ready? Dear Erika, I thought it best to do this publicly. I think public conversations keep everybody honest. And there are some things that certainly need to be clarified because sometimes the gap between the truth and the lie is what happens behind closed doors. You and Charlie began dating in earnest in 2019. And in retrospect, it was accompanied by a season of a lot of change. For one, I was getting married and virtually, therefore, joined at the hip with my fiance. He was sort of a new third wheel at all of our events. A few months later, on May 1st, the public was informed that I was resigning from my position as the communications director of Turning Point USA. Now, there has been a lot of public speculation as to what led to that decision. The media ran with it was anti-Semitism or some disagreement about Kanye West, but that wasn't true. None of that was true. The truth, and I think that you very well know what the truth is, because you were around for it, is that Charlie and I had a disagreement, which fractured my trust in him. He did something that he had never done before. He lied to my face about money. Now, in retrospect, I believe that the manner in which I discovered the lie might have been by design, but there's no need for us to delve into conspiracy when the facts are plain enough. Charlie had taken a meeting down in Florida with Ike Perlmutter at Mar-a-Lago. It was a fundraising meeting. For whatever reason, he did not want me to know about this meeting, and that was strange. It was meant to be kept a secret. Strange because we had always collaborated on and taken those sorts of meetings together.
Okay, are you guys reading between the lines here? Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk took all of those meetings together. And they worked very hard to keep TPUSA as a reputable, honest organization. She mentions prior to this, Erika joining in with Charlie. What is Candace telling us? She's telling us that somebody, potentially Erika and her goons, Mikey McCoy, Andrew Colvett, Tyler Boyer, said, go take this meeting and don't invite Candace. Why? Because Candace has too much integrity. She won't take blood money. She won't take money with stipulations because Candace Owens will not sell her soul. I don't care what people have said. Candace Owens is telling us the kind of person that Erika Kirk is right now. By design, don't tell Candace Owens, don't invite Candace Owens, and then when she finds out, it's okay because she knows there's a new sheriff in town. You got to read between the lines here. That's exactly what is happening.
Anyway, I found out about it and I decided to ask him casually as we were riding up an elevator at the Trump Hotel in DC. I said to him, have you heard from Ike recently? And he looked me right in the face just as he was getting off on his floor. And he said, no, I haven't. I haven't heard from him in like 2 weeks. And I then said back to him, really, Charlie, because you had lunch with him yesterday at Mar-a-Lago. And I saw his stomach drop. His entire face looked, as if he was going down a roller coaster. He stuck his arm back in the elevator really quickly and tried to explain it away. He then pivoted toward an apology, but obviously the damage was done. And if I'm being honest, I was as hurt as I was shocked and confused by it because we were close. We did go back down to the lobby. We sat at a table and we talked. I don't even remember whether or not I was angry. I probably was. That does tend to be my choice emotion. But deep down, there was a part of me that knew that it was coming because of a lot of the new hires that were coming to Turning Point USA post Kanye tweet. Charlie had new people in his ear that were hijacking his ambition, making him believe that money was the truest measure of success. Charlie was a brilliant fundraiser. Everybody knows that, but he was also young.
And here's what happened. You guys, I don't know if you guys recall, but Charlie, Candace Owens was retweeted by Kanye, or Kanye was like, I like that Candace Owens. And she and Charlie Kirk started to have more conversations with Kanye West, or Ye. And anytime you have any kind of spotlight, the dragons, the crows, what do you call those things that circle? You guys, come on now. Oh my gosh. Vultures. The vultures come because they don't want anyone to have power who they cannot control. And so Erika comes into his life. There's new hires with Tyler Boyer, all these people who are connected to the industry came into Charlie's life at that time. And they said, nah, that Candace Owens, no. She's got too much integrity. We can't control that one. And Candace warned Charlie Kirk about this because Candace is 3 years older than Charlie. And we already know that Candace has also been through the ringer a little bit, and she sees things a little bit more deeply than Charlie did because, I hate to say it, but when you're a Black woman, you have to just see people for who they are. You're just more perceptive about those things. You just don't take crap from people, especially when it comes to your money. And Candace Owens she'd been ridiculed by the Black community, and she had been, just really destroyed in the media. And she noticed how people function. And she tried to warn Charlie. She tried to warn him.
He was naive to what the wrong money could invite into his life. And I warned him. I warned him in that restaurant. I warned him specifically about Stacey Sheridan. Everything about her made my skin crawl. I suspected she and Tyler had something to do with it. I also warned him about Schaefer Security and Dan Flood. You can check the text messages because you have them. And now I am left wondering, obviously, if Charlie had heeded my advice if he would still be alive. I've also come to another realization that I missed at that time. Maybe the newest and the biggest influence in his ear. Who was that? Obviously, it was you. You were the newest and biggest influence in Charlie's life. You kind of all arrived at the same time. And you too, Erika, you lied to my face as we sat down in that hotel and we spoke for 4 hours. But I want to be clear, it was different. You see, with Charlie, I could forgive him. We were always like brother and sister. We went on tours thereafter. But you didn't do it when you lied. You didn't do it out of naivety. You didn't do it because you were young and being pulled into the wrong direction by bad faith actors.
There are tears in Candace's eyes right now, by the way, you guys. There are tears, but I want to talk about something. Candace talks about, because you see, people are like, she stepped down. She's an anti-Semite. Charlie didn't want anything to do with her. No, they still went on tours together. They're like brother and sister. You know, you fight with your sibling, but you're like, dang it, they're getting married and I'm her bridesmaid. Okay, let me just forget about that. Like, whatever. Okay, we said we got into a fight or whatever. You know, that's just how you are when you're siblings and you actually love each other and you actually have an understanding and you actually have a friendship. And so it is not weird that Candace said, I'm stepping down from this position because I know what's coming, but I'll still support you. That's what happened there. So they still went on tours together. They were still speaking. It's not like they cut each other off and they were done. So all this stuff about, she wasn't, she wasn't around after 2019 is just simply lies. They're simply lies. They were still communicating.
Andrew Colvat was never going rogue. You knew that. Every single evil thing that was done to me was done with your blessing. And I consider the onslaught of attacks that I had to endure, they were evil. Because you knew I was telling the truth and you authorized people with an incredible amount of money to attack one of the few people in politics who was actually grieving your husband. You knew we had a deep friendship. You knew I was telling the truth about the Catholic thing, about everything. You allowed these people to lie and to say that Charlie and I hadn't spoken since 2019. I mean,
so remember, you guys, Andrew Colvat went on Alex Clark's podcast and said, no, let's Charlie wasn't becoming Catholic. And they had Allie Beth Stuckey talking about it. And they had all these, every conservative pundit was like, Charlie was not becoming Catholic. Oh, Candace Owens is so dumb. And Erika Kir was behind it. And remember that man went on the PBD podcast and said, oh, I'm a board member. And Candace hasn't spoken to Charlie in years. Erika was behind that. So this has become very personal for Candace. It has become very personal because Candace is realizing now, since Erika was behind all of that, she was actually attacking me, which means the question is, what are you hiding? What are you hiding, Mrs. Erika Kir?
It's crazy how much of a lie that was. You authorized it, and I now know that. The question is why? It was so cruel. It was so mean, right? Why impart that on someone who you know, within a sea of snakes, actually cared about Charlie and didn't want anything out of the organization? Maybe it's because I was like a loose end, one person that wasn't controlled by an organization, had just kind of proven that I'd rather lose everything to say something that I don't believe, least of all.
Notice she said, you knew I wanted nothing from that organization. Let's back that up. Candace Owens' husband has money, okay? He has monies. Candace doesn't need money. These lies that Erika Kir, because remember, she went on her little book tour with, her Shalom tour and said, these people making money off of my husband's death. Baby girl, Candace doesn't need your money. And you know that about Candace Owens. So for you to get on live television and say this about her is exceedingly, you want to talk about evil? It's maniacal.
Of all for money. I mean, maybe it's also because you have his phone. And when I revealed to the public that he had predicted his own death in remarkable detail, maybe you went back and you read the rest of those messages, the ones that I haven't yet revealed to the public, because in retrospect, those messages they're pretty terrifying because they're precise and it feels prophetic. Charlie was gifted. You know that. I know that. And the government most certainly knew that as well since he was a kid, which is why it was at least very interesting to me that you told the New York Times, something that most people didn't pay attention to, but you told the New York Times the night before his murder Charlie's, and I'm going to quote this, you said that Charlie's adrenal glands were just going off. He couldn't sleep. I know enough about Charlie to know what that means. That means that Charlie was being bothered. He was probably having visions like he was in 2018, probably a clearer vision than the one that I had that you guys tried to mock, that danger was coming. And I'm going to go ahead and say that it wasn't about a Jezebel article written by some leftist. Please stop saying that because it's not true. I know Charlie, a leftist article didn't upset him in this way. Didn't make him call a priest to pray over him. He thought someone was going to kill him. He did express that in writing, and you did not lose those text messages. You knew that. Charlie and I spoke a lot about his third eye. That's why that sentence caught my attention in the article. He spoke about the street lamps that would go off when he would run, about the special school that he had to go to. We spoke about a lot of the things that were strange in our childhood, the testing that both of us had to endure. We spoke about the fact that we could both astral project,
By the way, you guys, Erika Kirk, I have a separate video coming. Erika Kirk confirmed that Charlie said that the street lights were flickering every time he ran by. And actually, she says it's their inside joke. So she said this on the Megyn Kelly live tour just after Charlie Kirk's death. And when Candace Owens brought this up, remember, she was met with an onslaught of attacks by people who say they loved and knew Charlie Kirk. But Erika confirmed, yeah, when he walks by, when he runs by, the streetlights all flicker. I do wonder now in retrospect if they had implanted something on him or in him that were interacting with the lights. I do wonder about that. I do wonder whether it was, was it something in his, because he used to wear a dog tag or one of his pendants. I do wonder about that. Remember, Erika gave those to him. That's just neither here nor there. That's just me speculating.
All of this, of course. You have his phone. And how surprised we were when we learned that not everybody does that naturally. Sleep paralysis, you name it. We had conversations about it. And if Charlie's adrenal glands were going off, it was probably maybe for the very same reason that I pulled my kids out of school days before he was murdered, because I sensed danger was coming. And since we are being open, I also want you to know that it struck me as odd when you said in that interview with Jesse Waters that you wanted Charlie to have a good night's sleep. He was so excited. So you sent him to sleep in his daughter's room. It just registers me as a little bit backwards. If I wanted my husband to have a good night's sleep because of something he had the next day, I'd probably let him sleep in the room, and I would sleep in my daughter's room.
Can I share something with you guys about this? I was thinking long and hard. I said, okay, why would Erika Kirk have Charlie sleep in his daughter's room the night before he died? And we're playing, we're just going to play pretend that Erika Kirk knew about the death. So why would she do this? And the reason that I came up with is this. Erika wanted to make sure that Charlie got to spend time with his daughter one last time, and that Gigi, her last memory of her dad is him sleeping in the room. That's what I came up with. That was my rationale, because Candace is right. It makes no sense for you to say, oh, I want you to get a good night's sleep. Go sleep in the child's room. Like, children don't, I'm sorry, but most children don't sleep that well. Does she think we're stupid? Most children do not sleep that soundly or well. So it is indeed very strange for her to suggest that Charlie sleep with his daughter. But it makes a lot of sense if she is trying to ensure that Gigi has one last positive memory with Charlie. Isn't that interesting?
I flagged that. I also thought what was interesting is that you said the next morning when he snuck in, he grabbed his wedding band. Again, minor detail, but I asked myself, why was his wedding band off? But enough with speculation. Here are the facts. I now have verifiable proof in writing that Justin Strife and you lied to me. You know exactly who Pierre is. Why did Justin Strife say that he had never heard of Pierre? It's crazy. Justin, why would you do that? Justin, you know him. You've met with him. You've personally met with Pierre. Erika, you've met with him in the wake of Charlie's death. I have, again, verifiable proof. So you can call your lawyers. You can spend another $1 billion on PR if you want to. Tell your lawyer to call my lawyer. I mean, you guys certainly have the money to do all of these things.
Notice how she said, you can spend another billion, BILLION, on PR. You can spend another billion, which means Candace Owens. See, she didn't say that. She didn't say that by accident. So this is where Candace Owens gets into defamation territory, not because she's committing defamation, but because this is where if TPUSA wanted to strike back, they would have to do so here. You spent $1 billion on PR. Candace Owens is inviting her. Fight me on that. Tell them you didn't spend $1 billion, not millions, $1 billion on PR. Tell them that you don't know who Pierre Falcone is. Tell them, Erika. Tell them that you've never met that man. And tell them, Erika and Justin, that you've never taken money. She is calling Erika to task.
It's not going to wipe away the truth. Okay. The truth is that there was a deal on the table with Pierre, who, yes, is from France, born in France. And that deal was worth billions, not millions, billions, plural, billions of dollars. Just after Charlie was shot, and again, I have proof, Pierre had a phone call with Justin Strife. He also had a phone call with Mr. Don Orico of Turning Point USA down in Tampa. And you know what's really odd? Somehow this Frenchman, Pierre, he knew that Charlie was dead before the rest of the world did. How did he know that? How did he know before I knew? Especially because he wasn't yet a donor to Turning Point USA.
Again, this is the third item for which TPUSA could sue for defamation. Why? Because Candace Owens can say, hey, tell me I'm lying about Pierre Falcone. Tell me I'm lying that you guys called him first. Tell me that I'm lying about it. Any other organization would say, draw it up. Draw up the lawsuit. But not TPUSA. They won't. They should respond, but they won't. Any other organization would say she's lying. I called these 20 people first before I called Pierre Falcone. But then they would have to acknowledge that they called Pierre Falcone and that they know who he is. Candace is a slick one, boy. I tell you, she's a slick one.
Why was he given so much priority? Frenchman. I'm interested. I know that after Charlie died, that deal went through. Yeah. I mean, if I'm lying, this would definitely fall within the category of defamation.
Listen to that. She said, this is now 4 things that Candace is saying. Tell me I'm lying. Tell me that I'm committing defamation. That deal went through billions of dollars after Charlie died. Tell me I'm lying. And if I'm lying, let's go to court for it. She has caught them in a major scandal. And it is only a matter of time, because the question is going to be, TPUSA, if this is not true, sue her into oblivion. But they cannot. They are going to have to sue her. And here's the thing. They can't. I mean, I know right now that the TPUSA lawyers are digging through all kinds and all matters of content of Candace Owens, trying to find something that they can hang on her. But it's not going to be this. So pay attention. When the lawsuit comes, pay attention and let's see if it's actually about this specific content or if it's about something like, oh, she said that Erika slept in a hotel room by herself or with Charlie or with, Cabot Phillips. See if it's something minor. And that's how you'll know that TPUSA is failing.
So, yeah, I'm all in on this one. I'm guessing, by the way, regarding this, Pierre, that this might be the reason that the White House never got back to me regarding the French Foreign Legion being involved with Charlie's assassination. Because
I don't know. There could be a French angle here. Could this be a motive? Could billions of dollars be a motive? I mean, I'll just ask some immediate questions. My question would be, why would a devout Catholic Frenchman be looking to give billions of dollars to an evangelical organization?
Now, this is where I will disagree with Candace. The TPUSA organization used to be an evangelical organization. It used to be. But in recent years, particularly in the faith division of TPUSA, they've let in all kinds of faiths. They've let in Mormons. They've let in, Catholics. They've let in. It was not strictly an evangelical organization. So I don't necessarily agree with Candace here. I think a better question would have been, why does someone from France need to give money to TPUSA? And why does TPUSA need billions of dollars? Because as she will reveal, they have millions. They don't need billions of dollars. They were running just fine. They don't need more. So that's the real question. It's not, why is a Catholic, engaging with this evangelical organization? Because that happens all the time. For crying out loud, his wife is Catholic. Like, please, can we just live in the reality that Erika Kir is Catholic? Like, please. Was she out here pretending that she's not? No, she definitely is. Homegirl's going to mass every day. Yeah, she's Catholic. Toodles. You know what I mean? Let's keep going.
Is that not weird? Just objectively weird? Gosh, that's a pretty big investment. Just really care about free market capitalism? What's France got to do with college campuses in America? Full stop. The answer, Erika, is nothing. Nothing. And one of the things that when I was a kid, and other GATE kids, as we've been speaking about the GATE program, when they put you in these special classes, they test you frequencies, sounds, they made us drink fluoride, all the weird stuff. But one of the things that they're especially interested in is how quickly you can put together puzzles. I want you to know that I excelled at that. I was really good at putting together puzzles. I gotta tell you, I think the picture is starting to emerge here. I think I was right. My best guess is that it was Pierre Falcone all along of Angola Gate. We talked about it on the show. France, Israel, the United States. This time it would be Egypt rather than Angola, all working together. Maybe they were getting the band back together to traffic because, there's been a lot of trafficking that just keeps coming up in this investigation. These countries, these satellite of countries, you trying to pretend with your billions of dollars, got a PR, we can do all of this. And it was so crazy. Oh my God. A little joke about the Egyptian planes. What? Nothing to see here. This is my theory. There's a lot to see here because you were lying to cover Bibi Netanyahu's tracks. That's very strange.
Boom. There's another one. So Candace Owens has now said 6 things that are straight up, if she's lying, straight up defamation. So there is either a defamation suit coming or TPUSA is going to be proven to be liars. You covered the tracks of Bibi Netanyahu? That is a major accusation. And I would be very curious to know how Erika responds to that, because that is serious.
We were there when Bibi Netanyahu called. Andrew told me that Bibi offered to take Turning Point USA to the next level and that Charlie turned him down in the Hamptons at the dinner that you were a part of. But you don't remember that part. You say he's just calling about a letter that Charlie wrote 5 months earlier. The dinner that you thereafter allowed an army of influencers to claim never actually happened, but you were there. Oh, I was there every step of the way. None of this ever happened. Nobody wanted to address Bibi calling. Nobody made any statements about that. Full-blown psyop, psychological operation. Truly, everything that you guys did, not only was it cruel, but I think the real motivation was you just thought you could psychologically break me. Because that's what this whole thing has been. It's been one big psyop. Very well funded because there's a lot of money on the line. If nothing happened in the Hamptons that was out of the usual, why the panic? Because something did happen. Charlie told Bibi Netanyahu no. Bibi, also, Charlie had declined to have Bibi on his podcast. When Bibi went on a little PR tour, Charlie didn't want to have him on the podcast, according to Andrew.
Do you guys remember that when Benjamin Netanyahu went on, he was on Officer Tatum's podcast. This was just after Charlie Kirk's death. He went on the PBD podcast. He went on Officer Tatum's podcast. Who else was he on? I don't remember. I remember those two distinctly because I thought that's very strange that the prime minister is on random conservative networks. I just thought that was really odd. Why does a prime minister need to be on American podcasts? Again, they're telling us not to believe our eyes. But our eyes are saying, hey, something is wrong here. Have y'all seen Putin on anybody's podcasts? Have you seen Putin? Who else? Have you seen the president of Mexico on anybody's podcasts? What about the president of Greece? What about the president of France? Have you guys seen him on any other him on any podcasts? No, you have not. Because it is not normal for heads of states to go on random people's podcasts unless they're trying to influence the people.
So Charlie seems pretty done with Israel, right? You don't have on the prime minister of Israel. But the obvious question here at the media is not interested in, but I certainly am, is in exchange for what, right? In exchange for what was Bibi Netanyahu going to take Turning Point USA to the next level? In exchange for what? And also, how was he planning to get that money into the company? Turning Point was already worth $100 million. Pulls in $100 million annually. What does the next level mean? It sounds like it would have to be billions. Via whom? My guess is Pierre. Erika. I think that there's a reason Pierre knew that Charlie was dead first. I think there's a reason he was a priority. How? Why? I think France and Israel are involved in Charlie Kirk's assassination. And I'm going to put that out there with full confidence. I also now have very strong evidence which suggests that you lied about your whereabouts on the morning of September 10th. Little details have been edited. You said that you were accompanying your mother as she was receiving a treatment. Like I said, I now have something which strongly disputes that narrative.
This is the 7th thing, maybe the 8th thing that TPUSA has to respond to. I guess Erika Kirk doesn't have to respond to anything, but she will look crazy. Maybe she won't because people are so dumb. They're like, oh, she's just such a strong Christian woman. She's just not responding to anything. Oh, she's just so humble. Oh, I can't, she's not suing Candace and she should. Erika, Candace is saying that you were not where you said you were, which is an insinuation, if I may, that you were involved somehow. So why not just sue and say, you know what? She's lying. What are you hiding? Because discovery will tell it all. What are you hiding?
So I'll ask you this question on behalf of the world. What the hell happened on September 10th? Why are you guys struggling to get your story straight? Why did you tell Jesse Waters this?
And you wanted to see Charlie immediately and came up. Take us through that.
We landed in Utah, went straight to the hospital.
Straight to the hospital? Andrew told me that when he deplaned, you guys embraced on the tarmac and he boohoo cried in your arms because he had so much pent up anxiety. So just given the planes, which you confirmed to me, which plane he was on and which plane you were on, that would mean that you had to wait for Andrew to land for an hour. Waited for an hour. Don't do the thing where you tell me that Andrew went rogue. Don't do that, Erika. You're lying. You would be lying. The question is why?
The biggest mistake that TPUSA and Erika Kirk made was meeting with Candace. I can tell you, and I say this with nearly full confidence, that they thought when they met with Candace Owens, they wanted to see what she knew. That's why they met with her, and that's why they met with her off television, offline. They wanted to see what she knew, but what they didn't know is that Candace is playing chess. She said, okay, sure. I'll tell you some things, but I'm not telling you everything. And she was able to prove, yeah, they're lying. So the biggest mistake that TPUSA made was meeting with her, because they lied. And they mistook Candace Owens for a fool. And now the lies are on the table. And they have no choice but to respond to this. They have to sue. They have to send another cease and desist. They have to. And my guess is that they're going to sue for what was left of her NDA, but they won't address anything specifically.
Why did you wait? And how long did you wait? And who was on the Egyptian planes? Who took off to Delaware? Who stayed behind to communicate on that second plane that was transponding for no reason? I think you know what I know, which is that I'm going to find out. This is not going to be a never-ending mystery. This is not going to be the JFK story. I'm going to figure out exactly what happened. I'm getting very close, against all odds, against billions. You might have the billions, but I have the truth. So that's what I wanted to say to you. We'll be right back.
And that was her letter to Miss Erika Kirk. Let's see. Let me read some of these comments. They believe that we are all their slaves. Read the Talmud. They use the kids to fight their battles. Losing the kids will be the end. Plus, I have a whole video coming. You guys, I don't know if I'm actually able to use that word that they use, GOY, in the title of my video. So I'm trying to figure out, because I have 6 or 7 clips that I want to show you guys. You are 100% White Rose, by the way. You're 100%. Now, it's not all of them, but it's certainly the ones who have the billions of dollars do 100% believe that we are born to serve them. They 100% believe that. There is a sector of very wealthy people who believe that. Yes, the synagogue of Satan is real. The Bible was not joking when Jesus was not joking when he wrote that in Revelation. The synagogue of Satan is real. So it's not every single person who identifies with that ethnic or religious group. It is a very specific sector of people. And if you read the Epstein files, it's very clear which kind of people believe that. There's a level to it. There's a someone did a podcast. I believe it's the Jimmy Dore podcast, which I'm going to clip when I do my video about that. About how that term is used, amongst secular people versus that group. And it's really interesting, just listening to him talk about that and how that term has a special extra sauce on it, so to speak, where it's extra vile. It's been really fascinating to me watching Zionist Christians perform mental gymnastics and do all kinds of backflips to justify whatever's in the Epstein files. It's been really fascinating to watch. I'm like, wow, that is some major theological twisting that you got going on there. This is some major theological twisting that you're doing to justify that. It's quite scary to think about. And I do believe I'm not, when it comes to Charlie Kirk, so Candace Owens mentions this thing. She says, if Bibi Netanyahu suggested that Candace, offered to take Turning Point to the next level, the question was, how would the money get in there? And remember, you guys, I made a video when this first all started happening, and I said, the people are calling Candace Owens crazy. They're saying, oh, it's a Frenchman, it's an Egyptian, and then I said, y'all are clearly not hip to how, y'all did not watch enough TV growing up, because it's never Israel. I'm not supposed to say that word. That country is not going to send money directly to the TPUSA organization from their bank accounts. That's just not how these things works. There's always 6 or 7 middlemen so that the money cannot be traced back to that person directly, right? So they had to use someone in a different country so that it looks so far out that people would go, oh, it just came from France. So I do think that, like, the reason why there's Egypt, and then there's France, and then there's, that country, and Iran and Qatar, is because you have to send, it's like a laundering situation, right? You're laundering that through different organizations to make sure it gets to TPUSA without blood on it, or, like, with it's not dirty money. So yeah, 100%. I think there were multiple parties involved. I'm not going to just say it was the small country. I'm going to say that it was a lot of people have interest in this, because they, again, once someone like a Charlie Kirk gets to a certain level, their influence is what is being purchased. We know that Charlie Kirk had influence. So they were purchasing what he was influencing people to do prior to this year. Like, I think they realized that when Charlie Kirk basically shifted the election, right? Because Charlie Kirk went out there and got Trump voted for, right? He got Trump elected. They realized this guy has more influence than we actually want anyone to have. And so if he's going to have influence, we need to steer him in the direction that we want him to go. And they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. So they knocked him off. And I don't think it was just a small country. I think it was multiple countries together saying, have you guys heard this new thing about the New World Order that JD Vance is talking about? Like, he slipped it in so casually. It was just disgusting. Like, ugh, so disgusting. He just slipped it in so casually. It was like, yeah, there's a New World Order happening where America's first. Baby, what? You can't just slip that in there randomly and act like we didn't hear that. So I think there is something happening behind the scenes. Initially, I thought, I don't think Trump knew about it now. I don't think he knew about it now. I think there were a lot of other people going behind the scenes, but I think when it happened, Trump knew who did it. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, he didn't get the briefing. He was not read in on the situation, but as soon as it happened, he went, yeah, they got him. That was my sense when I actually heard his speech at Charlie's memorial. I thought, yeah, Trump knows. Trump knew that they were capable of doing this, and he just didn't know when or why it was going to happen. Now, here's what I'm looking forward to next week, and then I'm going to let you guys go, and I've got to make that video, right, Rose, on the GOYIM, because I've got so many clips of rabbis and the letters from the Epstein files that, like, talking about, using this term in a derogatory way. But I'm excited for next week for Candace to share with us, because she said something at the end of her episode. She said the text messages that Charlie sent her were very graphic and precise. And y'all, somebody said Charlie Kirk was Candace was Charlie's kill switch. And I wonder if Candace Owens has text messages where Charlie is figuring out that all of these people were against him. I'm wondering. I have a feeling that he told Candace quite a bit, and that she's waiting to release it at the opportune time. Did you hear that they dug up the Babylonian leader's king cups and are trying to use his DNA to bring him back? Yes, they did. Yes, isn't that crazy? The Iraq War, that was in Iraq, right? Yeah, the war in Iraq. That's what they wanted to. They did it to dig up bring up their father Satan. You are of your father the devil. That's what the Bible says. Yeah, the corpse. Yeah, they're digging up his body. Yeah, they dug up his body, because they want to use this DNA. This is why Epstein was all into, like, DNA and cloning and all that stuff. Yeah, I know. Yes, they're sick. All right, you guys, I'm going to talk to you guys later, and don't forget to like this on your way out.